Mr. Essien spoke to us on Good Evening Ghana on Thursday. He made revelations that Ken Ofori, the Honorable Minister for Finance, and Keli Gadzekpo had approached him to buy his bank. He made those revelations to back his claim that his bank had healthy books. Subsequently, lawyers for Ken Ofori and Keli Gadzekpo have issued a statement denying the revelation that Mr. Essien made. We have approached Mr. Essien about this, and he has issued a letter ostensibly to back his claim. Tonight, we'll show you all of that. So we begin this part of the program, which is, as we call it, our opinion, with a reminder of what Mr. Essien actually said. This is what Essien told us. Was the bank stressful? Was it distressed?
You know, you see, like I said to you, if the bank was that bad, our current finance minister, Honorable Ken Ofori, together with the chief executive of Enterprise Group, were in my office.
Keli Gadzekpo.
Keli Gadzekpo.
To do what?
We're interested to buy Capital Bank.
No, hold on. Ken Ofori, the finance minister.
Yes.
And Keli Gadzekpo, his partner at Data Bank and Enterprise, came to see you.
Yes.
This is when Ken was finance minister.
No, before he became finance minister.
Okay.
That's right.
They came to you.
Yes.
That they wanted to buy your bank.
Buy the bank. If it was that stressful, would they have done
So this was year?
This was 2016.
I see.
Yes.
They wanted to buy it.
They wanted to buy Capital Bank.
For Data Bank or for Enterprise?
Well, the letter they gave to us.
Oh, they wrote? Enterprise
Group. Yes, I have a letter to that effect. You know, you see, Paul, I haven't said a lot. Because, you see, for me, my principle is this. You have to relate with people on good faith basis. Up until the person indicate to you that your good faith is undermined. But I still believe that give people the benefit of the doubt. So I still believe people that they have genuine intention until they prove otherwise.
But have you spoken to Ken since your bank went down?
Yes, I have. What did he tell you?
You can't say.
I'll probably want to keep it to myself for now.
I see. That's interesting. Did you feel that you needed to talk to political authority to restore your bank at the time that it was closed down?
I'm in court.
Have you sued the Bank of Ghana?
I've sued the Bank of Ghana. So we have to respect the rule of law. So, you know, when a matter is in court, you have to be careful so that you don't, for contempt purposes and things like that. But I'm just letting you know that if that bank was bad, a renowned investment banker like the caliber of our finance minister will not be saying that I'm interested in picking up that asset.
Okay, so that is what Ato Essien told us in that interview, which, of course, generated a letter out of the law firm of the lawyers for the Minister of Finance and Mr. Keli Gadzekpo. Here is the letter that has been published by the lawyers. Let's go through it now, and then we will show you in the end the letter that Essien sent us. So this is culled from City Business News, and it goes as follows. You see the title of the letter. It says, false and malicious accusations against Mrs. Keli Gadzekpo and Ken Ofori by Mr. William Ato Essien, founder of Capital Bank, in official liquidation in brackets. So the letter goes as follows. On Thursday, September 26th, Mr. William Ato Essien, the founder of Capital Bank, in official liquidation, appeared on Good Evening Ghana, a television interview program on Metro TV hosted by Mr. Paul Adom-Otchere. Second paragraph. During the said interview, Mr. William Ato Essien made inter unsubstantiated, inter just means among other things, unsubstantiated and unchallenged claims. So unsubstantiated, and that's an important word, and unchallenged. And we don't know how they wanted us to challenge that, because Mr. Essien told us that he has a letter to that effect. So I'm not too sure whether the unchallenged claims, which is attributable to our interview, really should be there. But that's what the lawyers say. Unsubstantiated and unchallenged claims, including a complete and palpable falsehood directed at Mrs. Keli Gadzekpo, a board member of the Bank of Ghana since 2017, and Ken Ofori, the finance minister since 2017, our clients. Third paragraph, it says, we have our clients' instructions to respond to the said unsubstantiated claims and falsehood perpetrated by Mr. William Ato Essien against our clients as follows. Now, so this is the actual details of the letter. 1, we wish to place on record that neither Mr. Keli Gadzekpo nor Mr. Ken Ofori communicated to Mr. William Ato Essien an intention to acquire Capital Bank in 2016 as claimed by Mr. Ato Essien. The claim by Mr. Ato Essien against the two founders of Data Bank, a reputable investment bank, is plainly false, malicious, and disingenuous. Paragraph 2, it says, in any event, it may be worth stressing that an expression of interest prior to examining the books of a bank cannot be stretched to mean or even imply an endorsement or confirmation that Capital Bank at the material time had a clean bill of health. Now that's interesting. So the lawyers say in paragraph 1 that the Ato Essien claim is false. We understand that. In paragraph 2, they seem to be backtracking. The lawyers seem to be backtracking. And they begin paragraph 2 by using the word and the expression "in any event." Are the lawyers suggesting to us that there was some sort of meeting, but that the meeting has been exaggerated by Mr. Essien in our interview? They should come clean on that. Paragraph 2 seems to be contradicting paragraph 1. In any event, it says, it may be worth stressing that an expression of interest prior to it. So did they have an expression of interest? In what form was the expression of interest? The lawyers seem to be backtracking, viewers. If you're looking at paragraph 1 and paragraph 2, paragraph 1 is an outright denial. Paragraph 2 is a concession of sorts that there may have been some interest. Why do lawyers do that? In any event, it may be worth stressing that an expression of interest prior to examining the books of capital of the bank cannot be stretched to mean or even imply. So they are alleging a sort of exaggeration because they use the expression stretched to mean. So they are suggesting that Mr. Essien is stretching a certain event and giving it a certain amplification. That's what they are saying in paragraph 2. If you are going to say this in paragraph 2, then why do you put out an outright denial in paragraph 1? Okay, let's go to paragraph 3. It continues and says, our clients reject and condemn the defamatory remarks and suggestions purporting to link our clients in a negative way with the banking sector cleanup process that was decided, implemented, led, and managed by the Bank of Ghana. Okay, so if we content analyze paragraph 3, they are saying a few things over there. They are saying that the banking sector cleanup was a direct responsibility of the Bank of Ghana, that it was not the responsibility of the Ministry of Finance. We understand that because the Bank of Ghana is the regulator of the industry. It starts by saying that our clients reject and condemn the defamatory remarks. I do not see where the defamatory remarks are. And I would like to say that there are absolutely no defamatory remarks in the point that Mr. Essien made, the revelation that two investment bankers, and Mr. Essien used the word renowned investment bankers, were interested in his bank. That does not lower the image of those investment bankers in the eyes of the ordinary people, which is the foundation that one needs to establish for defamation. There's absolutely no defamatory remarks. The Essien is using that as a basis to say that his bank was good. And he has not defamed anyone. Indeed, he uses the word renowned to describe their skills, the skills of the two gentlemen in investment banking. How can that be defamatory? What is the meaning of defamation? Is there a new meaning for defamation that has been manufactured by these lawyers in 2019, different from the meaning of defamation that is in the books? How can that be defamation? Our clients reject and condemn the defamatory remarks and suggestions purporting to link our clients in a negative way. In what negative way are the two gentlemen who have been described as renowned investment bankers being linked? I don't even understand it. Paragraph 4. In paragraph 4, it says the role of the Ministry of Finance in the entire exercise is primarily focused on how to A, provide financial assistance within the country's limited fiscal space to protect the funds of depositors, and B, to build stronger, healthier, and internationally competitive Ghanaian-owned banks. Okay, so what is paragraph 4 doing in the whole equation? You are alleging that someone has defamed your client by saying that he wanted to buy his bank in the year 2016, at the time when the Honorable Ken Ofori was not Minister of Finance. Why are you telling us the Finance Ministry's role in the banking sector cleanup? What do you want us to do with that? Are you giving us new information? Are you correcting some impression that you think people have? Why are you telling us, Mr. Lawyer, why are you telling us about the role of the Ministry of Finance? That is a statement for Parliament. Parliament should be hearing that, not as the general public. What do we want to do about this? You have come into this space responding directly to something that you claim is a defamatory statement. And you are belaboring the point and telling us plenty things about Ministry of Finance and his role in the banking sector. The revelations that Essien made, he said it was 2016. At that time, Ken Ofori was not Minister of Finance. So what's the point about all this? Maybe there's something in there. Just maybe there's something in there. Paragraph 5. it must be underlined that the finance minister, Ken and Keli, is not responsible for the events and or decisions that led to the unfortunate collapse of any bank in Ghana. His responsibility as finance minister is to manage the national economy and, more particularly, the impact of such major crisis, which commenced prior to the appointment of Ken and Keli as finance minister. Very well said. I'm guessing that every member of parliament knows that, and every politician knows that, and people know the role of the Ministry of Finance. But this is still very interesting. The lawyers want to underline the fact that the Honorable Finance Minister was not responsible for the events. But how could he have been responsible for the events of banks that were said to have low capital adequacy ratio and banks that were said to have been insolvent? By what calculation or analysis? Or are the lawyers worried that some people are thinking that way? How can anybody come to that conclusion that the Honorable Minister of Finance, sitting in his office and his role as Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, sitting in his role as Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, would be responsible for banks having low capital adequacy ratio and insolvency, which is a determination by figures, which is determined by the Bank of Ghana? No one is thinking that. Unless, again, there's something in there that we don't know or that I don't understand, because really, the point that is being made about the role of Ken and Keli is an obvious role of the finance minister. Ken and Keli is not the first finance minister of the Republic of Ghana. Every finance minister of the Republic of Ghana carries the same responsibility. That responsibility is a legal responsibility imposed on him by law, and it doesn't change. So to repeat it in paragraph 5, I'm wondering really what the lawyers are telling us about this whole matter, unless, as I keep saying, there's something else. Okay. Number 6, William Ato Essien's sensationalist attack on Messrs. Keli, Gadzekpo, and Ken and Keli is false, unnecessary, and diversionary. Sensationalist attack. I don't know whether that can be captured as an attack. When a man says that, when a question is asked that was your bank healthy, he says, yes, my bank was healthy. It had problems, but it was healthy. How can you convince us your bank was healthy? Oh, 2 investment bankers that are renowned were interested in my bank a year before the collapse. 2 investment bankers were interested in my bank. How is that an attack? That's the word that is used. You see, in this country, they always attack journalists for writing the wrong thing. Journalists have done the wrong headline. Journalists have used the wrong word. These are lawyers writing. Lawyer. So they always attack journalists. They've done, let's look at it, an attack. When a man says that 2 investment bankers who are renowned were interested in my bank, is that an attack on the 2 investment bankers? How can anybody think of this as an attack? And a lawyer writes, if a journalist had written this, we would not have heard the end of it. They would have said journalists should go back to school. They should go and learn how to write English. They should go and do this. This is a lawyer writing. That's an attack for you, Mr. Lawyer. Oh, really? An attack? Please, let's get serious. Let's just get serious and, let's occupy the space that we occupy honorably, respectably, and deal with these matters properly and stop all of this sensationalism. And it's signed by Aqua Sampson and Associates, their solicitors for Ken and Keli Gadzekpo. That is very disappointing. That to say in the last paragraph that what Essien said was an attack. It wasn't an attack. He was actually using those revelations to back his claim that his bank was healthy. Okay. Nonetheless, when this letter came in early this week, we decided that Essien had mentioned to us in the interview that he had a letter. And that's the only basis upon which we aired the interview. We aired that part of the interview. Because when people speak to us, given the training that we have, and given our acquaintance with the ethics of the profession, we are required to put them to strict proof. So when he said that he had that, I asked him, and he said he has a letter. At that time, we didn't get the letter. So when this came, my people called him and said, look, there's been a letter from lawyers for Ken and Keli Gadzekpo who are challenging the claims that you made. In the interview, you told us that you have a letter. Do you actually have a letter to that effect? He said, yes, I do. Can you furnish us with a letter to that effect? And he did. So we are going to put the letter out now. This is a letter that was written in 2015. Essien claims that this letter is indicative of the interest that Mr. Keli Gadzekpo, especially who signed the letter, an enterprise group had in the bank. And so they wrote this letter and named officials that they had been dealing with in this letter. Essien claims that it was after this letter that they came to see him as shareholder to discuss pricing. So his point was that by the time they came to him, they had looked at the bank and they came to discuss pricing. He actually even gave us the details of the pricing mechanism that they had recommended to him and his counter pricing that he had recommended to them. That's not in a letter, but that's what he said. we are going to put it out for you viewers to see, and you make a decision. We don't know. We can't tell. All we want viewers to see is that we had carried out our duty under the 1992 Constitution as media, and we had carried it out with fidelity and with honesty. We had not carried it out to give our platform to defame people. And what happened was not defamatory, and it was not an attack on the two gentlemen. It can never be. It could never have been an attack. So our interest in this matter is to show that we had done our duty. This is the letter that Mr. Essien sent to us. We are putting it out so that if it is not true, if there are forensic evidence to show it's not true or whatever, people can look at it. But this is just to show that we had conducted our duty as media to do the right thing. And that is why we had given a lot of time to also publish the letter of the lawyers, even though we had run our own commentary on it, disagreeing with defamation and disagreeing with the word attack. So this is the letter. It's 12 May 2015. It's written to Stephen Enchil. He's the vice chairman, First Capital Plus Limited, Accra. And it goes up and says, Dear Dr. Enchil. Now, what is important to us, among other things, is the title of the letter. And a letter says re, and that means it's not the first letter in this conversation. This is not the original letter in this conversation. It says re. Letter of interest to invest in First Capital Plus Bank Limited. Letter of interest to invest in First Capital Plus Bank Limited. It goes on, it says, thank you for your favorable response to our expression of interest to invest in your bank. It means that there was an expression of interest and the response was favorable. It says, I have had discussions with Mr. I. Osathompson Mensah, Mr. I. Osathompson Mensah, with whom I am working to agree the earliest suitable date for our initial meeting. Now, this letter is being written to the vice president of the bank. The vice president of the bank, Dr. Stephen Enchil, is an executive member of the board. He's not an executive of the bank. He doesn't work there every day, but he's an important and significant shareholder. So Osathompson, who is a director of the company, was an executive director and works there every day. And so the discussions had been had between those who work there every day and who carry all the information and the enterprise group. And this letter is being written to H. Enchil, who is a vice president, and telling him that some work has been done. And further to that, they are working with Osathompson to agree on the earliest suitable date for our initial meeting. So this initial meeting was a meeting between the enterprise group and the vice president of the bank. It says, thanks for your favorable response. Looking forward to meeting with you soon. And best regards. And the letter is signed by Mr. Keli Gadzekpo, Chief Executive Officer, and is on Enterprise Group letterhead. And it's copied to Pastor Mensah Otabil, who is chairman of the bank, and it's also copied to Mr. I. Osathompson, who is director of the bank. So this is the letter that Essien sent us. This letter is actually written in 2015, 15. So Essien says to us, when we queried, that after this letter and after the meeting with Enchil, then in 2016, the two gentlemen came over and spoke to him about pricing. His analysis and understanding is that by the time they came to him in 2016, they were comfortable with what they had seen. And that's why they came to him. Because according to him, if they were not comfortable at the initial stages, they wouldn't have escalated this matter to the vice president and to he, the majority shareholder. His view of the matter is that they escalated the matter because they had been comfortable with what they had seen. That's why they came to him. That is his view. I don't know. We don't know. What we are doing tonight is to demonstrate our fidelity to the ethics of our profession. That we had not been defamatory. We had not presented our platform for defamatory remarks to be made. The remarks made by Essien were not in any stretch of the imagination defamatory. They did not constitute an attack on the two gentlemen. He actually complimented the two gentlemen. No one should think of it as an attack. And for lawyers to call that an attack is somewhat disappointing. So that's the letter again. A letter of interest to invest in First Capital Plus Bank Ghana Limited. Says, thank you for your favorable response. We have been talking to Osa Mensah. We are working on a date for our initial meeting. So this is the letter, and Essien says, upon this letter, the two distinguished gentlemen came over to see him. So that's our story. That here ends our story.